In this video, we're going to be discussing some serious topics as well as the future of Grow Garden. Now, I do want to say before I get into any of it, do not send hate to anyone because technically this is no one's fault and this is all just constructive criticism that needs to be taken into account. Everybody knows by now, Grow Garden's player count has just been falling and falling after every single update. It is now 1 day after the last update that we had at the time I'm recording this, and the player count definitely shows it is falling. At the time I'm recording, the game literally has only 300,000 players active. And I know it sounds very ridiculous to say only 300,000 because that's still so many players in comparison to other games on Roblox. It is still one of the most popular games in the world. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it is no longer where it used to be. And I think ultimately this is the developer's fault. It's not only just the players losing interest, but also the decisions that the developers have been making every single update. This newest update was probably one of the most hated ones, especially because of the fact that it is a third part to an event that we've already had since the Halloween event started very early. But I do have to give them some, good feedback, and that was the concert event. I thought that was really cool. It was really nice being able to turn into a bat and participate in it. And I think a lot of people can agree with me on there that, the Great Pumpkin restock, that was amazing, man. Like, shout out to Dave, bro. But for the most part, people still thought that this admin abuse was an L and also that the update was also an L. Admin abuse, most likely because it was only like 30 minutes long. There wasn't too many crazy restocks or anything. And the best one we did get was, the Great Pumpkin. I can't say this was amazing. This is a really good seed to have. But other than that, they really gave us nothing. It was a disappointment. And that's one of the first of many problems. And that is simply because of the fact that you cannot come give us a brand new update and have the same update be worse than the last one. The ritual thing is pretty cool, but it literally only happens once every 2 hours, meaning you are literally not able to do it unless that thing appears. And same goes for this stuff. You should not be limited by what you can participate in over a long period of time, especially like this one. But I also know, as you guys read by the title, Jandel has basically just scammed people. And I know this is a crazy thing to say, but I want this to definitely be reached out to him so that way he's aware of what he's doing. And that way there's, some changes being made here. Because as we all know, Jando's one of the kindest developers out there. I mean, this guy literally made polls on what we want for updates and stuff. And for as long as they did them, he followed it. And that was amazing. But some of the decisions that the team has been making, such as nerfing things randomly out of the blue without telling anyone, it's a big problem. Imagine spending so much time getting mutations on a plant because you're really proud of it, and then it is nerfed out the blue to have a cap on its value because the developers just thought so. Now is the perfect time to do that. And what the heck? How did I just fall, bro? Whatever. But the developers have literally constantly been nerfing stuff. This does not sit right with any of the players at all inside of this game because the efforts you actually put into your garden and then developers just nerf it and they don't tell you anything about it. It's very disappointing. Jandel actually also did this in one of his other games, which has been his primary focus. As you know, the Grow Garden team has been working on this game called Plants vs. Brainrots, which, by the way, this definitely has a lot more players than his current game, which is at 700,000. So there's definitely a reason for them to be primarily focused on that rather than grow a garden. But they actually went ahead and made a random change after people were able to obtain this specific item called the 6-7 brain rot. Yes, I already know you know. But you literally had to spend Robux to obtain it, and people did that knowing that it was going to be very good. It was going to be on their team because it was very big in size. And then they just randomly nerfed it right after the update out of blue just because, it was too good and they thought so. And as you can see by these replies right here, this guy said, bring back Titanic 6-7, meaning big in size. It's not fair that people spend Robux for it and it gets removed. This guy could literally not be any more right. I mean, they literally nerfed it completely to the ground. It was no longer the same as what people actually paid for. And if you don't know what that is straight up scamming. The same scenarios have kind of happened in Grow a Garden. I mean, not so bad in this game because you were able to obtain like the Bone Blossom free to play, and you could get this giant thing, and it was possible to obtain free to play. But some people also spent Robux, like me. I'm not too worried about it though, because I mean, I literally have not grown a 1 trillion value Bone Blossom in forever, but the cap for it is now at 1 trillion, which is just not fair, especially if you've been grinding mutations on them for a very long time. These constant nerfs that we have lead to the fall of the game, and not just nerfs. There has been several scenarios where the developers come in and buff something knowing it's for a good cause, and a lot of people are happy with it, but after a while they notice that this is a big problem and they decide to nerf it again. Another scenario where they actually nerfed something that was very good was this ghostly dark Spriggan. I mean, this was technically way too good, but the developers nerfed it, and the only way you can obtain that thing is by spending Robux. So people who spent Robux thinking they were getting a product that they were promised, they had it changed. And I think this falls more towards a Roblox problem rather than just straight up the developers, because the developers are technically allowed to do this. They can nerf items in the game even after a while. And oh my god, a tornado just spawned on me. But yeah, the developers are able to nerf this stuff without really any consequences. However, Roblox is the service that lets them do that. Just imagine yourself spending 1,000 Robux on something that you knew was really good, and then you find out in 2 or 3 days later that the developers have decided to make a change. It's just not fair, and it's not worth your money anymore. But I wish this is where it would stop. However, Jandel has also been in a little bit of a problem. A while ago, Jandel posted this tweet saying, "I have decided to host a 10 million Robux prize pool game jam on the Roblox engine. The theme is Retro Slop, and the jam will be judged by a lot of famous people that you probably know, such as Laserbeam, Creekcraft, Carl, Temperance, Cracky, and On It Dev." If you don't know what a game jam is, it's basically where people have to make a game within a time period of time, and they have to make it within a certain theme. Jandel ended up actually hosting this, and I was considering participating in this, but I never ended up actually doing it, and I'm kind of thankful I didn't. And the Discord server where they had this conversation, as you can see, people are not happy whatsoever. Everybody in here was saying, where are the results? This is something that no one's really been talking about, and I'm not even sure if Jandel did even finish this or not, because he never ended up saying anything. When they finally got the results, they said that the game jam voting is now starting. There was a lot more submissions than expected. We are working through the finalists now. But as you can see, this was literally over 2 months ago. So did Jandel finally end up like secretly picking out the winners and working through the finalists? We don't know, because a lot of people thought that this was going to be something live, considering the fact, there was Creek in it as well. But nothing was ever said about this, and nobody knows if anybody actually won anything. And a lot of people feel as if their time had gotten scammed, because the developers never mentioned anything. And one of the crazy things is the Plants vs. Brain Rot game idea, something similar to it, was made as a submission to the game jam. So some people think that the game was literally straight up copied because it was a submission in the game jam, and then Jandel never gave them anything for it. But who knows? I do want to say, do not send any hate to Jandel or anything. Like, for the third time, don't send hate to anyone. They are definitely very busy people, and them having to go through these submissions, I can't imagine it'd be easy, because a lot of people would want to win $35,000. But that also brings me to my next point, and that is pay to win. Usually when these games start falling, and this goes for both Plants vs. Brain Rots as well as Grow a Garden, because it's actually been happening in both of them now, it is being loaded with pay to win and pay to win all over each other. As you know, we have this Twilight pack in the shop. It gives you that ghostly dark Spriggan pet, which it used to be really good before the developers came and nerfed it a bit. But that is the only way to get it. You have to spend 399 Robux and you're able to get it, or else you cannot get any of these items other than like the candy corn and the back collar. But another thing is this event that we got right here, the Grave Digger. If you go here and say, let's go grave digging, he gives you 10 things to dig. And if you don't actually know, with 10, you're barely going to be able to get even 2 things. And that's if you're really lucky. Like, I have 5 more to hit. And, ooh, we got zombie fruit. But watch, I'm not pulling nothing, bro. Okay. Oh, wait, maybe I am. Okay. Come on. Okay, I got 2 things. But as you can see, it takes a whole 5 minutes in order to get 1 more dig. And the developers actually give you only an hour to do this. So unless you spend Robux, you're not actually able to dig everything out of the Grave Digger. And at certain points, you may spend Robux and you may not even find anything, which then you'll be short and the Grave Digger is going to be gone by then. But these updates have been progressively getting more filled with pay to win. I mean, you even got the introduction of the season pass. I would argue, though, that this is pretty nice because this lets free players also get some stuff like any other season pass technically does. But technically, the rewards that they do give down this pay to win path are significantly better. And you're probably getting like 3 times the amount of rewards if you spend Robux. So the monetization for this game has been progressively getting more. And also, you can skip the entire ritual update by spending like 2,000 Robux to get the severed spine. This gives people a very big advantage in comparison to people who don't want to spend Robux. And back then in this game used to be a super chill game where there really wasn't too much grinding other than planting, making your garden look very nice, and also getting some good value out of it with some mutations. Now we have hundreds of mutations, which I can't really blame the developers for because every game has to continue adding in updates and mutations happen to just become more and more. But there is some decisions that they could totally be making to narrow down on the mutations. One of them, which has been really good, is adding mutation combining type of things, such as like a chain combo or like a combo type. And these are really nice. It gives you mutations that are worth a lot, and that way you won't have a billion things on one fruit and then just to find out it's capped at 1 trillion and it's not worth any more. And this update, you really have to grind for stuff, which is ridiculous because, as you know, like a spooky crate, let's see, or a spooky chest, as you can see, this costs 30 candy corn, bro. Like, that is not extremely easy for a lot of players in this game. And I got a ghost bush. And that is all for literally 1 spooky chest, which back in the past, you used to literally just spend your shekels in order to get them. But the developers have been trying to stay away from shekels because of the massive, amount of shekels in the economy. And instead of fixing it, they just add a new currency and make it pretty hard to get. And sometimes you can't even get this currency because the only thing you can do is this witch. And if the witch is not here, the only chance you have at getting candy corn is by participating in the ritual, which then you have to complete it all, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. It's pretty difficult. I will say, though, this jack-o'-lantern that you can get to pop up ever so often is very good because for this guy, I mean, although his time is very low, you can go ahead and talk to him, and he does give you a bunch of rewards. And there we go. Okay, yep, we got a bit of candy corn. Not too much, apparently, and he's gone. I think if the developers went back to listening to the community for updates and stuff, it would just be significantly better. People would appreciate them so much more because the updates are good. Don't get me wrong. There is a lot of effort put into them, but not in the right ways that people are wanting. It's almost like any things people are suggesting nowadays isn't really going into their minds, and they're just kind of making what they wanted to make originally. The reason why a game like Steal a Brain Rot has more players than all of Jandel's games combined is because they're constantly providing good admin abuses and good updates that people want. And to be honest, their updates have a lot less effort put into them than Grow Gardens does. So it kind of sucks that Grow Gardens is not getting anywhere to the same amount of players, and simply because they're just not listening to us as well as Steal a Brain Rot is. The developers have also said stuff such as the stock is getting an entirely new meaning in the upcoming weeks. Imagine if we added secret rituals and all that stuff. But nobody understands what any of this means because we're not able to find them at all. The rituals no one knows about for the secret great pumpkin, and well, the stock's meaning has not changed other than the fact that we are not getting like any restocks pretty much every single update. I really hope that Janda looks into these suggestions that a lot of people are giving, because people love the stuff that the game used to do, and recently it's just been very stale, if that's the word to use for it. We haven't really been getting anything new, and when we do get stuff new, like the garden ascension, for example, I think this ultimately like screwed up the game because people just hated this feature. It got changed so many times, and I mean, now it hasn't been changed in a very long time. Like, there's no reason to ascend other than to get this stuff. They've not added anything new to it. But the game was very fun when it was simple, and now it's just gotten a bit too complex. So if they can find a way to remove some complexity out of the game, I think that'd be really nice. Like, some pets in this game do some weird stuff that they don't even need to be doing, bro. And some are just straight up trash. But let me know what you guys think. If you have any suggestions for updates, throw them down in the comment section. I'm always reading the comments, and I'll definitely be sure to heart your comment if I think it's really nice. But if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, click on this video fast, because this one is about to end, and this is a way better video. So click it fast. This one's about to end. Until then, bye.